របស់លេបការកលាបត្រូវបានដំណើរការ
You think the seller of the IPO shares care whether you become rich or not? No. Okay, I give you 5 seconds digest. Which is why Warren Buffett discouraged people from buying what? IPOs. Doesn't mean that it's bad, it's how it is. Now, many years ago, when I was in Taipei, I ventured into Taipei, right? Sometimes I don't know why I don't know. So one of my good friend, Paul, right? He introduced another person. Yeah, Taiwanese. Yeah, he's I think a few years senior than me. So we have a cup of coffee right, at Fresco, I think up on the ceiling of a building. So we had coffee. So lucky I speak Mandarin. Oh, 你要做什么? Then we exchange name card. So eventually the guy passed me a name card. Then his name card.
Thomas Frank has been sacked. He's got. All right, folks, check this out. Donald Trump was just caught on camera being creepy again. Surprising, I know. The guy who was best friends with Epstein, the guy who's on audio bragging about assaulting women, being creepy. Who could have seen this coming? But in the middle of his speech that he was giving in Egypt about peace in the Middle East, he turned around to the Prime Minister of Italy and called her a beautiful young woman. Very weird, and she was obviously very uncomfortable when he did it, along with everybody else that was standing behind Trump. So I want to show you this clip, and then later we're going to have a brief conversation about Trump getting caught on camera, possibly committing a crime. We'll discuss in just a moment, and then later we'll conclude with the latest of what's going on in the Middle East, the peace plan, Trump, and everything that's involved with that. But before I show you this clip,
You already know who did it, but you can't say it out loud. David.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to.
Come grab the fish.
Let's.
Grab it.
Dad, he forces. Dad.
Cái này là giống vậy, cái chuyện cái đây mua này cực khăn mình tay này đặt đi nơi xã hội âm rồi chứ.
ញាក់សាច់ PDD សុំចាញ់ X ព័ត៌មានបែកធ្លាយបងប្អូនស្ដាប់
Vàoបងប្អូន
ចឹងដូច្នេះហើយតើនេះការពីម្សិលមិញនេះ
So remember on Monday when Donald Trump randomly started threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge, that massive bridge that connects Michigan to Canada? Yeah, well, it turns out that that wasn't random at all. It's actually a textbook example of corruption and crony capitalism. Because here's what really happened. According to a brand new report from the New York Times, just hours before Trump went on his rant on Truth Social, his Commerce Secretary...
The fact that Canada will control what crosses the Gordie Howe Bridge and owns the land on both sides is unacceptable to the president. It's also unacceptable that more of this bridge isn't being built with more American-made materials, even more so than what President Barack Obama committed to with the Canadians at the time, at the start of the project. He also believes that the U.S. should own at least half of the bridge, have shared authority over what passes across it, and participate in the economic benefits generated by its use. This is just another example of President Trump putting America's interests first, and so he made that very clear in his call with Prime Minister Carney earlier today. The fact that Canada...
We have some news right now. Donald Trump's narrative around Jeffrey Epstein has completely fallen apart this evening. The White House, the president, those around them have been championing this new document that was released over the past 24 hours, which suggests that Donald Trump called the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in the mid-2000s and said that Jeffrey Epstein essentially was a horrible person. Everyone knew what he was up to, the evil things, that Maxwell was Epstein's operative, that she was evil. And well, MAGA ran with it. They said that this was Donald Trump essentially turning Epstein in, turning Maxwell in, notifying authorities. Here's the problem. Tonight we learned from Julie K. Brown that, well, the truth is, Donald Trump didn't speak with investigators until after the investigation was already public, after Epstein was already arrested. So he waited until after the arrest happened to call investigators, which means Trump knew, allegedly, of all the horrific things, or some of the horrific things that Epstein was up to, called Maxwell evil, said that she was Epstein's operative, didn't say that until after the arrest. That completely blows up the entire narrative coming out of this White House. And it's important that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, is asked about.
To the other news tonight, there are new developments in the Jeffrey Epstein case, new questions about what President Trump knew about Epstein's sex crimes and when. And the president's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who said he broke ties with Epstein in 2005, calling him, quote, gross. But Lutnick admitted today he was on Epstein's private island years later and after Epstein was convicted. Here's Barry Bruce.
Tonight, new questions about what President Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein's criminal behavior and when. In an FBI document from 2019, a former Palm Beach police chief says Trump was one of the first calls he received when word got out in the mid-2000s that Epstein was being investigated for sex crimes. The police chief, Michael Reiter, telling the FBI in that phone call Trump told him Epstein's behavior was widely known. The FBI stating Donald Trump told Reiter that he threw Epstein out of his club. Trump called the Palm Beach Police Department to tell him, thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this. The report adds Trump told Reiter that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Trump got the hell out of there. Trump, who was friends with Epstein for over a decade, has repeatedly said he knew nothing at the time about Epstein's crimes. He insists he broke off their relationship when he learned Epstein was luring away young female staffers who worked at Mar-a-Lago, but that he didn't know why.
I don't know really why, but I said if he's taking anybody from Mar-a-Lago, he's hiring or whatever he's doing. I didn't like it, and we threw him out.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill today, one of Trump's top officials grilled about his own dealings with Epstein.
Did you lie to the American people about your interactions with Epstein?
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had said he'd distanced himself from Epstein in 2005, even calling him gross on a podcast last fall.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
But today, under oath, Lutnick admitted he had lunch with Epstein on his private island in 2012 after Epstein was convicted of sex crimes.
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions.
The White House tonight standing by Lutnick, even as Democrats and at least one Republican are calling for the Commerce Secretary.
So as soon as Canada paid $6.4 billion to build a bridge, gave Michigan joint ownership for free, used American steel and American workers in construction. And Donald Trump looked at that arrangement and said, I will not allow this bridge to open. Mark Carney picked up the phone the next morning, called Trump directly, and delivered 4 sentences that Washington had no answer for.
President Trump is threatening to halt the opening of... We have some news right now. Jamie Raskin, a congressman, says that Donald Trump's name appeared in the unredacted Epstein files more than a, quote, million times. I'm not hyperbolizing that. In an interview with Axios, Raskin claimed that Trump's name, when he searched Trump's name in the unredacted files, because he was able, as a member of Congress, he was able to see the unredacted Epstein files, it hit 1 million plus times. Now, to me, that's a little much, just because given the fact that there are only 3 million files, that means his name is either multiple times in one email or once in 3 million emails. I mean, we don't have the details, but he is now claiming that Trump's name hit more than 1 million times. Now, what we do know from Congressman Raskin is that the unredacted files actually contradict a key statement that Donald Trump has been making, being that he kicked Epstein out of his club. But the unredacted files have a synopsis in there that show otherwise, that Epstein was...
We've got some breaking news, folks. Donald Trump today attempted to imprison 6 members of Congress who publicly disagreed with him on his policies of blowing up the ships in the Caribbean. What happened here is really pretty sick. A grand jury in D.C. refused to indict the members of Congress, which is an incredible thing because grand juries will indict anything. What Trump tried to do today
was prosecute 6 members of Congress, senators and House members, for simply stating publicly, correctly about a month or two ago, that members of the U.S. Armed Forces not only can refuse to follow illegal orders, but under the U.S. law, they must refuse to follow illegal orders. Literally, it is no excuse to say, I was just following orders, sir, if you're committing war crimes, if you're committing crimes. This goes back to World War II in Germany, as you can imagine, where everyone said, oh, just be a good German, just following the rules. Not under U.S. law. You follow the rules, you break the law, you go to prison. That's what the members of Congress said. They reminded them of their duty under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, under the U.S. Constitution, to obey the laws of the U.S. And Trump tried to throw them in prison for it. Folks, this is so dangerous. We have crossed the line here. We are no longer a democracy with this happening. This government has prosecuted multiple of Trump's political enemies. Letitia James, James Comey. He's now going after the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Person after person after person, simply because Donald Trump doesn't like them. The chairman of the Federal Reserve he's tried to throw in prison because he didn't lower interest rates enough.
My business.
You talked about the weapon, the discombobulator.
Yeah,
What is that?
discombobulator. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But
what does it do?
Let me just tell you, you know what it does? None of their equipment works. That's what it does. Everything was.
How does it?
It was my name. I'm very proud of the name. Everything was discombobulated. It was, practically a shot wasn't. They were ready.
Right.
And when we came, they couldn't do anything.
You saw this in the video. You could tell.
Tom, it discombobulated everything.
So President Trump's tariffs taking a toll on Americans. According to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation, tariffs cost the average American household an additional $1,000 last year. And assuming these existing tariffs stay in place, the cost could go even higher this year to $1,300 per house.
Uh-oh, more bad news for Donald Trump. And guys, he is really not going to like this one. There is a new poll out today from Rasmussen. Now, if you're not familiar with Rasmussen, this is one of MAGA's favorite polling operations. This is a full-on Trump apologist. Let's make Trump. What the hell is wrong with my eye? I don't have to sleep.
We discussed the bridge.
Want to know exactly why President Trump never got busted for canoodling with Epstein? It's because he was doing the busting. Today, the Miami Herald, ABC.
Welcome back to CNN's breaking news coverage of President Trump's address. We just heard it to senior U.S. military officers at the Marine base at Quantico, Virginia.
Let's go live now to CNN senior reporter Daniel Dale for a fact check. All right, Daniel, what stood out to you?
There were just so many false claims, and I say that after essentially every speech, unfortunately, from President Donald Trump. But I think this is notable because of the audience. He was telling a lot of lies, saying a lot of other.
My first reaction was he got bad advice from his advisors and people around him in terms of the facts. Canada financed the entire bridge. So there was no money put up by Michigan or the United States for the actual bridge itself. So we had no obligation, no liability. We will have 50% ownership, the state of Michigan, and the country of Canada will get repaid.
You literally can't make this up. According to Jamie Raskin, Trump is in the unredacted Epstein files over 1 million times. Raskin said that when he typed Donald Trump's name into the unredacted system, over 1 million results appeared. That would mean that Donald Trump's name was redacted over 995,000 times. Who wants Pam Bondi to resign? You literally can't make this up. According to Jamie Raskin, Trump is in the unredacted Epstein files over 1 million times. Raskin said that when he typed Donald Trump's name into the unredacted system.
The monumental arch that President Trump wants to...
$1,000. That's how much a new report says President Trump's tariffs cost the average American household in 2025. And the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation says that will go up to $1,300 this year if all the existing tariffs stay in place. The president credits tariffs for bringing in revenue for the federal government, but this report calls them a tax on American families. New polling from Quinnipiac shows that 56% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy. $1,000.
We have breaking news right now. NBC is reporting that the Trump Justice Department under Jeanine Pirro tried to indict potentially Democratic lawmakers associated, remember that, quote, illegal.
1 million times
Trump's name appears more than 1 million times.
I'm pleased to announce that on May 17th, 2026, that we're inviting Americans from all across the country to come together on our national mall to pray.
We have breaking news right now, Donald.
We have some major news. A member of Congress just confirmed that Donald Trump is in the...
U.S. President, if you look at what is happening between Washington